What's up? It's Jen Brown. Welcome back to my channel. I am super excited to share with you guys the tutorials for this full crocheted outfit. It turned out so much better than I was even hoping. So we're just gonna jump right in and get to those clips. I have all the pieces time-stamped below except for this bra top because I followed a tutorial for it, but I have that linked below where you can find that. I've talked about it before. It's like my favorite bra top pattern that I've seen. So I've been making quite a few versions of it, but again, that link is down below. So let's start from the floor up and make some socks. Alright, so next up we're gonna make a sock. And I'm wearing this one because I want to show you that it actually fits. When I take it off, it looks comically large. So I just wanted to kind of like show you what it looks like on. I do have pretty long feet, so obviously this is going to be something that you will have to try on frequently to make sure that it fits your own foot. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's soft and comfy, and it was actually only my second attempt. I've never made socks, and the first one I tried wasn't bad, but it was a little big in some places. But this, I think, is the easiest way that I could think of to do it all in like one go. So it's a little stretched out for me putting it on a few times. But we're going to start at the toe, and I just made a chain and like measured how well it would like fit over my toe. So for me, it was 10 chains. So that's what I'm going to start with. So to start the toe, I'm going to chain 1 and then single crochet all the way down. Now we're going to be working in rounds. So if you've ever made a hat, you would know, instead of going like back and forth, we're going to actually go around so that we're going around the sock. Get my tail out of the way. So I'm going to put my hook in between the 2 rows and chain 1. And I'm going to do that twice so that it makes this curve and doesn't like wrinkle up my project. Then I will continue to single crochet down this side. Now we're working on the other side of the original chain. I am going to add a few stitches now that it's going to start kind of going over my toes. So right now, this project is 10 stitches on either side. I want to get it up to 15. So I'm going to, as I go, add chains by doing 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And you can pretty much add these wherever you want. So that was just 2 right there. I like to just add them on the sides. Like that, kind of as you're going around the curve. So now I've expanded it. I am just going to keep single crochets. I'm not going to add any more stitches, so it's going to stay this size. And I'm going to do that until it gets to like here, like right when your foot like starts to curve up. So keep going, keep trying it on until it gets to about this point. For me, that is going to be 20 rows from the top. Okay, so next we're going to start the part that is going to make the heel. So the way that we kind of do this curve is for 1/2 of each row we'll do a slip stitch, and then the second half do a half double crochet. So for this first row, I'm still just going to do 15 stitches each side. So I will start by doing a slip stitch in each of these, and make sure that you keep your slip stitches really nice and loose. They're really easy to kind of like cinch them too tight, and then it'll be too tight on your foot. Now I will do a half double crochet down this side. So for this whole portion, for me, this is 10 rows. So we've just done one. So for the next 5 rows, I'm going to continue this, but each row of half double crochets, I'm going to increase by 1 stitch. Okay, so after I did those first 6 rows, then I stopped increasing and did 2 more just at that same level, and now that I'm on the 9th row, I'm going to start decreasing so that it is a little bit more fitted to my ankle. So I'm going to do my half double crochets, and for now I'm just going to decrease 1. Then for this last row, just to kind of even things out a little bit, instead of doing slip stitches for this front part, I'm going to go back to single crochets. Then for this last row, I'm going to decrease 2 when I get to the back. So now I'm just going to go back to doing single crochets all the way around, and I'm going to keep decreasing until I get back to my original 15 stitches on either side. And I'm just going to do this until I get it to where I want on my ankle, and then we'll do the cuff. Alright, so now for the last bit, we are going to make the cuff. So the first thing I'm going to do to kind of even this out is I'm just going to do a couple of slip stitches. Then I'm going to chain 6. This can change obviously depending on how long or short you want the cuff to be. Then I will chain an extra 2, and I'm going to half double crochet all the way down. Then I'm going to slip stitch the next 2 chains to join it. Then I'm going to slip stitch 2 more to start the next row. Then I will turn and do a half double crochet in the back loop to get a ribbed effect. If you don't want the ribbed effect, just do it like you normally would in the front loop. Chain 2 and turn, and then I will continue this all the way around. All I did to stitch it up was slip stitch the ends together, and then you can tie off your loose strings, and you got some nice cozy socks. Alright, so we are ready to move on to the sweatpants. So I've never crocheted pants before, so I'm kind of making up the leg portion of it as I go here. But I did watch this video by AC Crochets on how to make this little pair of shorts. I'm going to have that linked below, but I really was impressed by the way that she handled like the inseam and the crotch area, as well as how she kind of figured out how to make them fit her. So I'm taking some inspiration from this and making some changes and kind of adapting it to my own style, and of course turning this into pants instead of shorts. But like I said, that'll be linked below. The shorts are really cute, so I definitely recommend checking that out. So to get started, you need to figure out how many chains you need to fit around your hips. So you want to measure your hips. I'm like a 40-inch hip, so if you want them to fit a little bit looser, you can go a little bit bigger. So you want your chain measurement when stretched out to be the same measurement as your hips. So for me, a 40-inch hip is 135 chains stretched out. Okay, so now that I've got my 135 chains, then I'm going to join them with a slip stitch. Now I'm actually going to come back and do the waistband after the fact. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by chaining 2, and I'm just going to half double crochet in all the stitches around. So now that I've come to the end of the row, I'm just going to slip stitch these together, chain 2, turn the work. This seam is going to help us kind of keep things centered a little bit later on. And then just continue on, start a new row and continue with the half double crochets. Okay, so now I'm finished with this portion. Again, this is the length that I want the rise of the pants. So for me, this was 20 rows. And now we are going to start the legs. I'm going to start a new loop and join with a slip stitch to the end of this row. Now for the original pattern, she has you chain 20, which worked out for me when I tested this. So now we just have to count stitches to make sure that we are attaching this directly in half. You can kind of eyeball it like this, but I'm just going to count just to be sure. Join that with another slip stitch and tie it off. Now we're going to work this one side at a time, and this is why I wanted to follow this pattern. I think this is like such a genius way to do this. This is the tester that I started to do. So you crochet one leg going around this new loop that you've made. And then when you're ready to start the other leg, you use the back side of this chain and do the leg like this. So I don't know that that's something that I would have thought of, so I thought that was really awesome. And she has you start in the middle of this chain so that the leg seams are on the inside. So I'm going to make a new loop again. Count 10 stitches to make sure I'm in the middle. Join with a slip stitch, then I'm going to chain 2. And now I'm going to half double crochet all the way around this circle to be the leg, and I'm going to join with a slip stitch just like I did at the end of each of these rows, and then I'm going to keep doing this for as long as I want the legs to be. This is the finished leg, and I will show you how to do this cuff on this one in a second. There's my beanbag chair that I sit in while I work a lot of times. All I did was work straight down until this point. This is about the middle of my thigh. Then I started to decrease stitches. I went every other row, I decreased 2 and then 1 and then 2 and then 1 until it got down to just below my knee. Then I went straight down, I didn't decrease anymore until it got about midway down my calf. And then I started decreasing 2 at a time until I got to the cuff. And obviously I tried these on many times at many stages just to make sure it was fitting the way I wanted. So I did that, and then I repeated that for the other leg, and now I'm going to go back to our normal filming angle and do the cuff. Alright, if you followed my tutorials before, this will probably be very familiar to you, but just in case, I'm going to show you how I did this really quick. It's actually super easy. This is where I slip stitched together the last row of my leg. I'm going to chain 9. This is just how long I wanted the cuff to be. However long or short you want it is fine. I'm going to slip stitch into all of these chains. So that's a total of 8 because we did not crochet into the first loop. Then I'm going to slip stitch to join it to the leg. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the next chain of the leg to start the next row. I'm going to turn and back row slip stitch. Then I'm going to chain 1, flip, and repeat. It is time consuming to do slip stitches. You could do single crochets, but I like this really kind of like stretchy, cinched cuff. So I'm going to continue that to finish off this leg. Then I'm going to do the same thing around the waist. My voice is doing weird things today. I'm going to do the same thing around the waistband so that this fits me and gives me a little bit more of a like mid to high rise fit. So I will come back and show you what that looks like when I'm done. So to start off, I learned how to do this cable knit pattern from, I will put the link and the video here. I don't remember the channel name off the top of my head. I'm just gonna let you either go and learn how to do that from her, because while I did finally get the hang of it, it was kind of complicated and difficult for me, and I don't feel like I know it well enough to just say like, oh yeah, I know how to do that, let me teach you how to cable knit. So if you want to recreate this cardigan, you can either go and learn that from her first, like I did in this sweater pattern that she has, or you can just do a different stitch to be this part. So the way I created this was to do this in panels because I had these cable knit stitches. These are 9 stitches across. So if you want to skip the cable knit part and do something else for the purposes of the measurements of this cardigan, these are 9 stitches across. So this one, as you can see, I have 1/2 of it done, and this is how I did this. I started with this long stretch of cable knit. Each of these is about 64 rows. I'm estimating that because of the cable knit, there's this bit of overlapping that goes. But honestly, when I was trying to decide how long to make it, as I went, I held it up to my shoulder and just kind of measured how far down I wanted this to go on my body. So I have this central panel here, and I decided to do this 2-tone look. These 2 colors of yarn are very similar, but I liked that it gave it just a little bit of a differentiation, but it wasn't like super wild colors, which I know normally super wild colors is the way that I go, but I just wanted to do something different. So in total, I made 5 of these cable knit sections. So if you decide not to do the cable knit, you'll need 5 of whatever this is that you do here. That's going to be 2 for the front, and then we're going to do, so I'm going to make my loop. Slip stitch to join. Chain 2. Then I'm just going to half double crochet all the way down the side of this. I think I have about 110 down the side of each of these. Now that we reach the end of the row, we're going to chain 2, turn, and just repeat. We're going to half double crochet all the way down this row. Okay, so for this next row, this is where I did this little, I don't know, they're like little crisscross stitches that sort of mimic types of cable knit. I don't really know what that's called, but you can really choose kind of like how close together or far apart you want to put them. I did them about every 9 to 10 stitches apart, but when you're coming back down the other side like I am, I just sort of eyeballed it to make sure that they were lined up evenly. So this one, obviously, I got to the end and didn't have very many left. So I'm going to do 3 stitches before I do the first cross. So we're still doing half double crochets. Now I'm going to be doing a triple crochet into the row below. So I'm going to yarn over twice. Then instead of going into this loop, I'm going to go behind it and do basically a front post triple crochet. Then I'll yarn over twice again and go around the previous stitch. That's what kind of makes that little bit of an X. Then I'm going to skip this loop that is sort of attached to that front post, and I'm going to go back to doing half double crochets. And it'll look like that. So now I'll just continue down doing this crisscross front post triple crochet. Say that 5 times fast. Every time that I get to that row so that they're even, and I'm going to continue that all the way down. Now that we've finished that row, we're going to chain 2, turn, and now we're going to double crochet all the way down this row. So this time I chained 3 before I turned, and we're going to do 2 more rows. We're going to do a row of triple crochets and then 1 more of double crochets to finish off this side. Okay, so we've got this completed, and just to kind of reiterate, we've got 2 rows of half double crochet, a row of half double crochet with the front loop, triple crochet into the previous row, another row of half double crochets, then a row of double crochets, a row of triple crochets, and another row of doubles for a total of 7. So you're going to repeat that on the other side, which obviously I've already done. Then you're going to do that with 4 of your other central pieces, and then the 5th one we are leaving alone because it's going to go in between 2 of these panels for the back layer. So once you have those completed, we can stitch them all together. So to do the back, I've got 2 of my panels that we're going to put this extra row of cable knit or whatever it is you decide to do here in the middle. So I am just going to slip stitch the wrong sides together, unless you like having the slip stitch showing. You could do that on the right sides, but I'm going to do it so that the slip stitch is on the inside, and I'm just going to slip stitch all the way down on both sides. Alright, so we've got the back panels all put together, and now we can move on to the sleeves. I wanted to bring in that second color a little bit, so I don't know how well it's showing up on here, but these I've done in the different color, and then on that row I made the cuff have like stripes of different colors too. So for the total length of the sleeve, it's 72 stitches long, 63 for this part of the sleeve, and then 9 more for the cuff. So to start, I'm going to chain 72. Going to chain 1 more. Then I'm going to do 9 single crochets to start the cuff. Now I'm going to do half double crochets down the rest of this row. Okay, so now that we're ready to get started with the cuff, we're going to change colors and then do the ribbed cuff. And we're going to chain 1, turn, do 9 back loop stitches again. Now we're going to switch colors. So now we'll go back to half double crochets, and we're going to go back to working in the regular loop because we're not trying to get the whole sleeve ribbed. We just want the cuff to be ribbed. Then I will switch back. And go back to half double crochets for 10 stitches. And repeat. So the way that I did this was basically the same as for the rest of the sweater on either side of the cable knit sections. I did the half double crochet for 2 rows, half double crochet with the front post, triple crochets in a different color, another half double crochet, and then instead of doing a row of doubles, a row of triples, and then a row of doubles again, I just did doubles and then triples and started over. So for me, it ended up being 32 rows because at the end I just did a couple more rows of half double crochets just because I wanted to make sure that it was big enough. Alright, now that we've finished our sleeve, the last thing to do is to add the taper. I've already done it on this side. This is kind of how it looks, and it'll look a little bit smoother once we stitch it together. So I'm going to start by making my loop, slip stitching to join, chain 2, then I'm just going to do half double crochets in the first 30 stitches. So the way we get that slanted effect is we're going to decrease by doing 2 half double crochets together. So we're going to yarn over and pull through once. Then instead of pulling through again in a regular half double crochet, we're going to yarn over into the next stitch, pull through once, and then pull through all 5. So we have 2 half double crochets that are together with 1 loop at the top. So you're going to do that 4 times, pulling these 8 stitches into 4. It's 2, 3, and 4, and that kind of starts to create that slant. So now I'm going to chain 2, flip it over, then I'm going to skip this stitch and just half double crochet back down the row. Now we're going to do the same thing as the first time, only we're going to half double crochet in the first 20 stitches. Now we'll do the same thing again where we're going to do 2 half double crochets in one, four times. And chain 2, turn, skip the first stitch, and half double crochet in your remaining stitches. Now we just have to attach everything and then we can do the final trim. The easiest way that I like to do this, just to keep from having to tie things off, is to go start at the bottom of your cardigan, go up to where the bottom of the sleeve is, then go all the way around, and then when you reach the armpit, come down the sleeve, just in one big loop. Okay, so this is the bottom of the cardigan. So for the last step before we have to deal with all the strings is just doing the trim, and I'm going to go down the bottom and then up the side so that it has like a place for buttons if I want them and a little bit of a collar. So I'm going to yarn over 2 like I would for my triple crochet. I'm going to pull through once, twice, and then instead of finishing that, I'm going to yarn over twice again, go into my next chain, then I'm going to pull through 3, and then 3, and then my last 2, so it makes this like triangle shape. Now I'm going to do a normal triple crochet right into the corner, and I'm just going to do a regular triple crochet. Then in the next 2 loops, I'm going to do that joining together thing again. So 1, 2, those 3, and then 2. And it's still got a little bit of a corner to it. If I was going to do multiple rows of this, that would kind of help fix that the more I did, but it just is a little bit less angular. So now I can just go ahead and continue doing my triple crochets down this side. helpful. If you make any of these pieces and make your own versions of them, please tag me on Instagram. I would love to see it. If you like this video and you want to see more from me, feel free to subscribe. I post videos 2 to 3 times a month, and I usually include crochet content at least once a month. Thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll see you next time.